Hi everyone. Welcome back to a completely normal episode of Blunation. I'm your normal, average, run-of-the-mill, funny little guy host, Noah Schwartz. Tonight, we're going to go on an in-depth investigation into something that's weighed heavily on my mind. Why can't I get chicken tendies from Mr. Beast Burger? This is a problem going back generations. In this moment in our popular culture, we'll trace this vile root, the stain upon our souls back to the first sin man committed, the Black Sox incident, and the invention of parkour. The Black Sox scandal was a gambling bust for the 1919 World Series, in which they defiled the sanctity of the sacred game of baseball, daring to enter the Church of the Diamond with a Lovecraftian deal with the unknowable beyond, a gambling syndicate that had the gall to suggest they lose to Ohio! You know Ohio, the state we should have just flooded, regardless of the environmental impact? Like, can we actually destroy Ohio? Like, if we just destroy Ohio, we can create a massive body of fresh water to save the numerous freshwater species that have had their environments destroyed by our introduction of invasive species. At the heart of it all was shoeless Joe Jackson, who not only always maintained his innocence, but had other players and some others who were actually involved in the gambling ring corroborate his lack of involvement. This primed us, because now sin was introduced to humanity, getting the ideas for things like corking bats. No, that's not an innuendo. Electromagnets, the complete corruption of the youth to actually have faith in anything. Thankfully, we here at Blunation have fixed that problem. Or I swear to you, by the end of this episode, I will have. So, moving forward in our timeline, we look to boxing and the infamous Phantom Punch. In the rematch of Muhammad Ali versus Sonny Liston in 1965, Liston famously went down roughly a minute into the fight to a punch from Ali. Many in the crowd didn't even see the punch. Ali famously is quoted as shouting, "Get up and fight, sucker. No one's going to believe this." So, let's take a moment, break the charade a little bit. Being completely real, we should give Liston some background and some credence. Liston was born in 1930 to a sharecropping family. He was abused by his family so bad such that he had harsh, visible scars into adulthood. He left school from early on from the bullying that he faced because he was illiterate. From any employment that he had was sporadic and exploited him, and eventually he turned to crime and was arrested for armed robbery. In prison, that was finally where he learned to box and actually bested a pro. The pro was quoted as saying that he feared for his life because of how strong Liston was. Liston was always regarded as one of the strongest boxers of all time. To further illustrate this point, a trainer of his that also trained Mike Tyson still holds that Liston was the stronger of the two. For much of his career, Liston's contract was owned by Frankie Carbo, a hitman of the Lucchese crime family. At the time, in boxing, the mob had control of every level of the sport of boxing. With his connections and the other parts of his own identity, Liston stood as a representative to the white profiteers of the sport as everything they stood against. He was painted as an ignorant thug and faced a lot of pushback for being a large, famously intimidating black man in what was at the time still a white man's sport. James Baldwin wrote about Liston sympathetically in this manner, saying, "Liston was the big Negro in every white man's hallway." End quote from Baldwin. Liston was a man who never got a break, and he was never going to give anyone one. Whether the match was fixed or not doesn't matter to me. Liston is a perfect example of how sports are often a system through which white patriarchal hegemony is replicated and preserved within society through the harmful exploitation of its participants. Sorry about that. It seems my producers thought I was getting a tad bit too silly and wacky for the good of the show. Let's the conspiracy theories continue here. Let's change the subject. So, famed seminary dropout Falco Lombardi also happened to do a little bit of coaching in his time for the Packers. Oh, sorry. Famed seminary dropout Vince Lombardi. If you talk to any old Pack fan, they'll likely have you trapped with an Ice Bowl story. The Ice Bowl was an NFL championship game in 1967, where the temperature was negative 15 degrees Fahrenheit and the wind chill was negative 48 degrees Fahrenheit. Also famously, the heating system for the turf at Lambeau Field malfunctioned. Or did it? Was Falco Lombardi's folly really a folly or a part of the ploy the Catholic Church has been working on for years? By giving Green Bay the stronger cold weather advantage, Falco was able to cement a place in the minds of sports sheeple across the United States, which leads us to the only place it could lead to, the helium shortage. There's no way that Ray Guy, a professional football player and the only punter in the Hall of Fame, could kick footballs well. Refuse to believe it. He had to be filling the balls with helium. By reducing the amount of helium in the atmosphere, the church began their devious, decades-long plan to eradicate the party industry. When there are no parties, man will surely come crawling back to the prime example of sin, the original sin. Like Lucifer's gamble to become the new god of the new world, so too was man tempted again. Similar to my Mr. Beast Burger problem, the NBA in the 1980s had a cocaine problem, where despite the lack of tendies, I can't stop giving Mr. Beast Burger my money, players couldn't stop doing coke. So, drug articles on NBA players were a dime a dozen. Viewership was dropping in the system for who got the first draft made seasons very uninteresting. There was never a big enough shakeup in the teams. From the dark depths of the bleakest bog, from the lost kingdom of Carcosa, the land of the Yellow King, and the sin of greed and pride conspired to form a champion. Enter David Stern, new commissioner of the NBA. David Stern reorganized the way the draft order would work, a lottery. Just in time as an exciting new player, Patrick Ewing, who, oh, would you look at that, is just the piece to shake things up if he joined up with the New York Knicks. Fast forward to the draft itself, and the only question is how it was going to be done. First, the man who put the envelopes into the clear drum that would be chosen from was Jack Wagner of the accounting firm Ernest & Winnie. Ernest & Winnie was the auditing firm for Gulf and Western, the ownership group for the Knicks. As an aside, why can't we have more dynamic duos have interesting names, you know? Like, here at TV10, we have the Hive Mind, Ellie and Katie. Or famously, there's also the dynamic duo, Batman and Robin. Or my own personal favorite, oh no, it's them! Myself and Charles.
Charlie, I hate you, Charlie. I Charlie.
So, he throws the envelope into the drum. The only one to hit the sides of the drum was, you guessed it, the Knicks envelope. Footage from after shows the Knicks envelope having been drawn and having had a bent corner, presumably from being thrown in hard. So Stern just drew the bent corner to ensure that the Knicks won the draft and saved the NBA. Or the other theory goes that, like Satan, Dante's Inferno, David Stern is surrounded by a frigid aura due to how far he has strayed from the righteous path of God, salvation, and the auto-cannibalism of the divine that humanity dares to tread on each Sunday that they try to go beyond playing God and become it. Sora then made the envelope frozen, and that's how he drew it to his haggard, wrinkly old people hands, with his esoteric old people magic of pulling anything up by its bootstraps. Nowadays, the draft order is decided behind closed doors. Very inconspicuous, my secret cabal of old basketball fogies. Here on Blunation, I always like to live by the saying, follow the money. Where's my money, Lebowski? In this case, it's not actually Lebowski we have. Two individuals have once again toyed with the stitches of fate. Pete Rose and Michael Jordan. You know, come on and slam, and welcome to the jam. That Michael Jordan. Starting with pedophile Pete Rose is significantly less of an interesting figure. In 1989, the MLB banned him from baseball, because he was found to be gambling and betting on his own team while he played and managed them. MC Slam Jam, however, is rumored to have been secretly forcibly retired before his bad gambling addiction made it too far into the presses, so as to save the face of the NBA, which is why he started playing for the White Sox. Let's break it down. Jordan, for his career, was an extremely dominant player in the 90s. 1992, Jordan, coming off of his second championship win, was called to testify in for the trial of James Bueller to explain why Bueller, a convicted drug dealer, had a check from Jordan for $57,000. Other things also started to come out to light too, not just his ability to pass that thing and watch me flex. Behind my back, you know what next to the jam, all in your face. What's up? Just feel the bass, drop it, rock it, down the room, shake it, quake it, space kaboom. Jordan admitted it was for gambling losses. After Jordan won his third championship, the NBA launched their investigation into Jordan's gambling habit. 4 months later, he announces his retirement. It's thought that Jordan and, really old guy David Stern struck a deal, and his baseball career was the distraction away from all of this hullabaloo. Now we get to the final point. The final thing that I really need to stress and that we have to really touch on before I can complete my magnum opus here. It's time for us all, for me, to get to talk about Tom Brady's balls. The Brady balls, if you will. Balls. We're talking about Deflategate. So, in 2015, it was found out that the stuff inside of balls, air, generally is what it's supposed to be thought of, was not quite up to snuff, not quite as inflated as one could be. And so Mr. Thomas, my wife is divorcing me because I've never eaten a strawberry in my life. True fact. He's thought to have deflated the balls to, help him out. Have his own special little Tom Brady's Brady balls, if you will. The Brady balls. Tom Brady's balls. So, speaking of the Brady balls, we have to go back to a different kind of ball. You know that guy that I was talking about before, pedophile Pete Rose? I never said what team he was on. Can you guess? It's a little callback if you remember from the beginning of the episode. Pete Rose was a part of the Cincinnati Reds. Do you know what Michael Jordan was on? Michael Jordan was on the White Sox. Do you remember that game in 1919? That World Series that got fixed? The Black Sox incident. The same two teams. It was the White Sox versus the Cincinnati Reds. We go back to the root of all evil! and why I can't get my tendies from Mr. Beast Burger. It's because of people like this that keep destroying the party industry, that keep on dragging Mr. Beast down, that he's just like, nah, you know what we can do? We can do a chicken tendy sandwich. You know, we can add a little bit of spice on the old Tom Brady's balls, Brady's balls, the Brady balls, the fries. You know, we can afford to get to do that. But so help us if I cannot go down to my local Kiwi bot, the love of my life that cat calls me each morning, you know, and not get some tendies. What's up with that? I think, you know, there's really only one way that we can really close out, you know, Tom Brady's Brady balls, the balls, Tom Brady's Brady balls. I've done all the damage that I can do. Thank you all for watching Blue Nation. My name is not Noah Schwartz, unfortunately. And I hope that you did think that I was a funny little guy, though. And so we'll see you on the next episode where hopefully Noah will be back. You can watch this and all of our other lovely content on mytv10.uwec.edu. Thank you all for watching.